Rumi, soul light and sun the same. If a lover isn't continually burning, he should sit and crack his knuckles with the old men. A lover doesn't fit in groups very well, or with himself. He rides quickly away from doubt and appearances. A spring, a green branch, every day new, the first time you feel held, curved like a lute playing grief music. Gazelle and lioness walking together, soul light and sun the same. Welcome to Sufism, the heart of Islam.
Hi, Catherine.
Hello,
Today we are talking about creation. This is going to be a series of, I think, 2 or 3 programs where we are talking about creation from Islamic understanding. And also it can be extended to understanding of some of the philosophy within Christianity, such as born again and renewing yourself. And also after the first session where we focus on the concept of creation in Islam, we'll be talking about the supernatural understanding and the event that happened in a metaphysical understanding. For example, a person can be in several places at once, or for example, we hear the story of Solomon where the Queen of Sheba's throne and was moved from one country to the palace of the Solomon. Or when you see in terms of Moses, he throws his staff and that becomes snake or a dragon. So then this theories here explains how these things works. So I would like to start with this point that when you talk about creation in Islam, you're talking about perpetual creation, you're talking about manifestation, you talk about expression of the absolute. So in Islamic philosophy, you're talking about unity of being, that there is a God in its absolute sitting up there in heavens, and everything that happens in the world of seen and unseen is the manifestation and expression of God. And this expression and manifestation happens at an infinite and endlessly. It happens all the time, so there is no end to it. And this happens moment to moment. So everything comes into creation and then annihilates. That's how these things works. So as we say, in every moment, the infinite number of things come to creation. Then these things go away, disappear or withers or annihilates, and then they are actually replaced. This is what we're talking about. Replaced by other infinite properties. So for example, we could say that you and I are sitting here now, at every moment we are annihilated and then be renewed again. For any moment, we're not the same as what we were before, a moment before. So that's why the concept of forgiving comes into mind, that God forgives because you're never the same as what you were before. That's why you have to forgive somebody at never time, because moment, we're not talking about time anymore. A moment or a presence of God, nothing is changed. Everything is dynamic and changes, and we are changing and replaced. So once you understand this logical, or the logic of these theories, we then understand that the same world cannot be experienced in 2 different moments. So that will be the logical consequences. Because the world that we live, and ourselves, me and you, we are constantly changing, perpetually flaws, everything changes. And therefore, these changes happen to moment, and it happens in a way that if somebody is not observant, if there is no, if there's only, say, superficially observance of this world, they will not see it. All they look, the same thing is there as it was before. Now, the Holy Quran talks about these changes or new creation, that is, everything is a khalq jadid, or a new creation, which we talked about. So everything is created new, and then it talks about, okay, if something is created new, it is not necessarily in contrast or opposition the things that was before. So I am sitting here, I have been developed, or I have been perfected. That means some of my potential that wasn't there before is being flourished, so I'm not. But it doesn't mean I'm in contrast. That means it goes back to the surah that says everything is going toward perfections. Everything is moving toward perfection. Now, if you hear that there is among the philosophers, there is a story that they say two philosophers were sitting by the river, and one of them said, "Do you know you can only swim in this water once?" And the other one said, "You can't even swim in it once, you know, so because this current is changing. So by the time you think about that concept, that is changed." So this is what this philosophy is dealing about. And we understand the same thing that happens within Christianity. And when Jesus talks about one is born again and something is new, something is being renewed. He says, for example, come to Christ or follow, come to the way of Christ, you never be the same as old that you were. It's dealing with this concept that everything is changing. Changing, of course, this is an order, this is a decree of God, and nothing is the same as what it was. Now, in Islamic philosophy, that means you have power of over changing yourself. That means that we all made in the image of God, and since we are made in the image of God, we are all potential. God is Belfel, or everything is actualized in Him. So He says be, and there is. In us, when we want to say be, we have to go and possess the knowledge. We have to go possess certain material and build it. So ours is potential. So the motion is movement from potential to actualization. So that happens in us. So since we are made in the image of God, we have that power. And to be renewed, that means we have to renew all our potential that is within us, not killing them, not destroying them. So that's why Prophet Muhammad says, God helps you if your tomorrow is the same as your today, if you haven't learned anything. So this is, how does this work, and who notices these changes? This is very important. That's why Erfan comes to it, or Sufism comes to it. According to Sufism, a conscious being, or self-conscious man, or the person who makes it to the world of marifat, or to the world of hikmat, or the area of cognition, is the one who sees these changes. He sees these changes happening within himself and outside himself, notices. And he understands these changes are gradual, is an endless changing, and it will happen to the infinite. Now, acquiring this knowledge, being observant of this knowledge, being aware of it, that's what called marifat or Sufism. So this is how these things come. And then you understand in Christianity when Jesus says, do not be old, renew yourself. This means the changes will happen in you. In you, every moment, try to gain knowledge. Try to go back toward God and the Absolute. Now, in order not to make it boring, since this is philosophy, if you wish to do us a poetry or a surah of Quran, then we can continue on this subject.
Certainly. In the name of Allah, most compassionate, most merciful. By the star, when it goes down, your companion is neither astray, nor being misled, nor does he say aught of his own desire. It is no less than inspiration sent down to him. He was taught by one mighty in power, endued with wisdom. For he appeared in stately form while he was in the highest part of the horizon. Then he approached and came closer, and was at a distance of but 2 bows' lengths, or even nearer. So did God convey the inspiration to his servant, conveyed what he meant to convey. The prophet's mind and heart in no way falsified that which he saw. Will you then dispute with him concerning what he saw? For indeed he saw him at a second descent, near the Lote tree, beyond which none may pass. Near it is the garden of abode. Behold, the Lote tree was shrouded in mystery unspeakable.
Very beautiful. So if we continue the discussion of creation from Islamic philosophy point of view, so we were talking about how God manifests itself, expresses himself, and how everything that is around us and ourselves and whatever is in the world of unseen came from God. He expressed himself. His name and his attributes was given to everything, and everything became a being. So what we're talking here about is, for us, the basis of creation, as I said, is absolute, is continuously and infinitely is manifesting itself. And that brings a question that is in Sufism. You hear about possible being. There's a thing they call possible being or accidental. And then there's also, they talk about necessary being or wajibul wujud. Wajibul wujud being God himself. God being absolute, that means he's always been there. He was not born, he was not created. He doesn't subject to time and a place. He's above all that. In fact, he's a creator of time and a place, temporal and place or makan. But for us, we are what they call possible being. Now, if God wishes us to be here, we are here. If he doesn't wish us to be here, we're not. So we are an accident of something necessary. Our existence is all depends on him. Therefore, what he does, God descends himself. So how does this process of creation works or manifestation works? As we said, God above there in heavens, it descends himself to come from, go through the different stages of the world of spirit to the world of sensible. So this is what they call the process of descending. He descends himself to earth, to soil, to what nutrition for earth, us, trees, nature, whatever. This is a descending because something descends from heavens into earth and material life. Now, by this process of descending, possible comes into actualization. So there is an archetype. There is an archetype. So when God makes something, there is a blueprint of it. If you go to these engineering departments, when they're building a city, there is a blueprint. And that blueprint doesn't make sense to anybody but the engineers. You put it in front of anybody, what is it? Now that blueprint is a potential. When they build that blueprint, that becomes actualized, becomes building. And this is how it works. When you look at the pattern in the sky, at night especially, you see all these beautiful stars, the way they are sitting toward each other, the way they related to each other. These are the blueprint of the creation. Now, God wishes to bring those blueprint into existence. So what happens? He descends, and brings those possible being into the possibility. Now, if that means he lighten up those archetypes, they call them Ain Sabite in Arabic. It lightens them. By lighting them, gives them life, brings those potential into existence. Therefore, you see then, a possible being, as a potential, I come to existence and become. Now, as we said, from God's point of view, that is descending, right? But from my point of view, I have been ascended. Because from nothing, or from just a potential, I came into being something. I've been lighted. All my potential is lighted, and I can have that light relationship with the existence. Before I was just in the dark, just a blueprint sitting on a table. So this is from the point of God, as they say, descending. From our point is ascending. That's why you see Jesus Christ after his death was ascended, right? As you hear in all religion and all cultures, the prophets and those holy men always get ascended because God wishes. It brings you, there's a circle. So when you talk about this ontological thing of descending and ascending, This is about our dynamic nature. Us, earth, heavens, everything that is a creation of God, we all have this dynamic nature. We cannot be static. Within us there is if I pronounce it right, fervent movement, entirely that we like to be dynamic. We like to change. There is a movement within us. This movement is a self-development of ascending. We like to be. So if I can explain this, for example, if you look at a seed of a tree, apple tree, if you look at that seed, once you put it in a soil, it gets the nutrition from soil and water and everything, starts growing. From where? Down, earth to heavens. It looks up, it grows upward. That possibilities, those potential possibilities come into what? Existence, and is developing itself. So it's descended and then it's ascended. It's going up to flourish all and actualize all its potential. So I think I should stop here. We do another poetry, so we don't want the subject to be too heavy, and then we carry on with this.
Someone was asked, why did the Prophet not touch his head to the ground at the Lote tree of the boundary? That person said, because in touching one's head to the ground is the sight of the self, the appearance of servanthood, and the magnification of the real. But he was in the station of passing away from his descriptions, dressed in the manner of dress of the reality upon witnessing the real. So how could one ascribe to him turning towards something or applying himself to touching his head to the ground? This saying asks about Muhammad's actions when he arrives at the famous Lote tree of the boundary. This fantastic tree is usually said to be found in the seventh heaven, and its name is sometimes explained in reference to the idea that it stands at the very outer limit of creation, beyond which the vast majority of created beings are not allowed to pass. Traditional depictions of the Lote tree in both official and non-official ascension accounts graphically describe its enormous size. For example, they maintain that its leaves are as big as elephant ears, its fruits are the size of water jugs, and its shadow extends for hundreds of leagues. Drawn upon the imagery of paradise, accounts of the Lote tree often name and describe the blessed rivers that flow from its base. In the same, anonymous Sufi respondent points out that the act of touching one's head to the ground is a self-conscious physical act invoking the vision of the self, or nafs. The act likewise performatively demonstrates the submission relationship of the servant to the divine Lord. According to this anonymous Sufi respondent, however, at the Lote tree of the boundary, the one ascending was in the process of transcending this dualistic master-servant relationship, approaching the station of passing away, or fana, from his contingent attributes. In witnessing the real, or al-haq, he becomes clothed in divine attributes, as represented by the phrase, dressed in the manner of the dress of reality. In such a mystical state, the anonymous Sufi master contends, it was no longer appropriate or even possible to demonstrate humble submissiveness through touching one's head to the ground. In such a mystical state, the master-servant relationship no longer exists.
Very beautiful, and that really sums up some of the things we're saying. We were talking about the process of creation as God descend, manifests himself, express himself all the way to earth, goes through these different areas of spirituality to half spirituality, which is heaven and hell, and then comes down all the way to the earth, which is the place of sensible. Everything becomes infinite. Everything has an infinite nature. All of us in our body, everything in nature has an infinite DNA, infinite potential. Nothing ever dies, everything will return, everything will ascend back to God. And there is a desire, whatever descends, the desire in it to be ascended. Because as it descends, something comes into light. When it comes to light, it loves to be ascended, goes back. That's why in Islam you have no death, everything will return to God. And that's why there is a tendency you hear among the Sufis, as a tradition, even Jesus alayhi salam, that I am God, I am An-al-Haq, they say. Now, that opens the question when somebody like Halaj says, An-al-Haq goes back to that tradition that Moses was passing by, saw the burning bush, and the burning bush was announcing that I am Haq. I am existing, I am Hasti, I exist. So what happens from the mouth of a person who becomes holy, becomes mystic, God's tongue is turning and announces itself, I am Haq, I am God, I exist, I am the truth. So that is the tradition, everything descends and everything ascends, because first thing God created was the law of gravity and attraction. Everything has to go back to the beloved. Him being beloved, we being the lover in pursuit. So everything is within law. Nothing exists without that law. The whole explanation and following the mystic path to understand and realize this thing on earth, not before you make it to the other domain. This must happen on this earth. Do not deprive yourself of those beauty. And we said it's not a question of sin and crime and this, because God forgives. Why does He forgive? Because you are His expression, you are His manifestation. And He forgives you because He forgives Himself. If He punishes you, He will punish Himself. And we said that the perpetual creation or expression of God, keep manifesting Himself, that means He keep changing you. He keep renewing you. He changes. That changes happens by what? Changes from potential into actualization. We see that the law of motion, as I said before, you put a seed of a tree in a soil, you see the law of motion. Eventually, little by little, it grows. You see that motion slowly. It happens in front of your eyes if you sit and observe that. It looks as nothing is happening. It's like when our children grow, we are with them, we don't notice the way they grow. Somebody comes from outside and says, wow, this guy is so tall now. But when you deal with that seed, in the essence of that seed, already the changes has been taking place. So the seeing doesn't have to be visible. It takes place, all the knowledge is within that seed. The seed accepts the change. There is a decree of God, says be and there is. That changes. The rest become only physical, elemental growing. The rest is that. Otherwise, the order is for it to be and it becomes. So this whole thing changes. And as we said, this Arif or a Sufi sees these changes in a way that other people don't see. So that's why he enjoys it. When he sees the decree, he says, and when he looks at that seed, he sees the tree. He sees the actualization of that. That's why when he looks at a student, he sees all that potential can be developed, or he says, no, you're not made for this purpose. Go do something else. That's how the Sufi masters work. But then you come to a question of coincidental oppositum, right? Opposition. How come two things develop to be like each other? When you look at things, things are very similar. So, for example, if we go and look at deers, they all look the same to us. They all, we don't know them, right? Everything looks the same. Things look very similar. By this, it means that we all created under law, under equal law. Okay? It doesn't mean we all similar and the same. We may look similar and we may act the same, but we're not. We're not equal. We are very unique. We are created under a law, under equal law. So if you drop, for example, this and this on the floor, they both will make it to the floor. The law determines they both, but one of them makes it there faster. It does, so they're not equal. The equality to hit the ground is different. So when you look at things from horizontal similarity relationship between beings, between creation. They may look similar, but they're not. Everything is changed. The essence of everything is different. They're very, very unique. But at the same time, this reflects that name and attributes of God are infinite. And since these names and attributes are infinite, things come into existence. But these things, these names and attributes, and all this quality that comes to us as multiplicity, they have one point of joining, and that is a single absolute unity that we all go back to. That's why we are similar, that's why we're not similar. Infinite and unity. And that's why it makes sense. Now, if you go into other area, from, say, temporal point of view, from a vertical point of view, then you see the relationship between things. And event that happens, they may look similar. To us, it may look similar. But even if you go back and investigate those, you see they're not actually similar. There is a difference between them because the makeup and embodiment of everything is very, very unique and different. And because the archetype of everything is totally different. I think I should stop here and you do another poetry so we could carry on with this fascinating discussion. I hope.
Lovers in law school. Speak Persian, Hussam, though Arabic is very sweet. Love has 100 other tongues beside these two. A fragrance, a silence, the talking when we're all ear. Lovers leave for Bukhara, but not to listen, to learn lectures. They go there to explore the face of the friend. They study law, but really, they're whirling in ecstasy. They add and subtract sums of money, when actually they're mining for spirit treasure. They talk about divorce and separation, but really they're leaning back, riding in a wagon on the Bukhara road. Soul beauty, their only expertise.
Very, very beautiful. So we talked about this, how this relationship, how the similarity work, how unique everything's are. Follow what you read. Holy Quran says about Khalq Jadid or new creation. He says it in a splendid way that they are in utter confusion in regard to the new creation.
Even in law school.
Even in law school. This is such a beautiful thing. So they are in utter confusion. They see the new thing happening, but they don't see it, they don't accept it. This is what Rumi is talking about there. So Sufi or a one Arif or a mystic is the one who follows this line, goes and investigates to see these changes happening and enjoys those beauty. A philosopher is the one who sees far, who is there to make confusion. He doesn't want to see God. He puts the God out of the equation. This is sage. Sage is a philosophy that is a marifat, is a knowledge, divine knowledge. So whoever goes this way gives himself a certificate to witness this beauty. That's why life becomes so beautiful in the eye of the mystic. He enjoys it. He may not eat, he may not do many things, but he enjoys it because...
Well said, busy work refining his perception.
Exactly. So how beautiful God said, they are in utter confusion with regard to the new. And this is marifat. Try to see the new creation. Try to see all the potential developing. If you see an artist, try to finance him. Make sure you sponsor him. If you see a child that has potential, maybe from a poor family, save him, because you don't know, they can be, this potential are the servant of the world and the God. They are there for a reason. That's why we do have charity. We should pass and look into, we have to see those beauty that is around us. So, as we said, this world and us, the whole entire thing is changing, is not the same. Perpetual changes, the flaw. Nothing can be experienced at the same time twice because it's changed. We talked about how the philosophy deal with it. But the whole thing is, everything is changes except that reality itself. the absolute reality that manifests all these changes, that manifests the new and new and new, is always the same. There's only one truth that contains the whole knowledge. That's why he's a knower. He's a knower, he's the most powerful, he's the most compassionate, he's the most merciful. Everything in him is actualized. He may practice it through us, he may bring it into light and color through us, but all knowledge belongs to him. And that single reality itself, as we said, determines everything. And through the accidental, through the possibilities, through potential, he brings all those beauty and all those knowledge into the world that we exist. So the whole aim and ambition in Sufism is to know who you are, understand your potential, see the changes in yourself, see the changes outside yourself, respect it, and observe it. As Quran orders, look at everything. There is something for you. Observe them in order to understand. Now, tomorrow we are talking about how new creation can be the essence of change. For example, you could move this table to be somewhere else, as it happens in the case of Solomon. Or a Sufi as Rumi was seen in 3 different places at different time. So how is that possible? By understanding how the creation works and how these things change from, there's a moment that changes. For example, you sitting here, to me the changes is not clear. But according to this theory, you have changed. You have annihilated and you have been renewed. Now, there is a point between those changes that the Sufi can intervene and transform you from being here to something else, from the world of neglect or ignorance to a world of light, from a physical place to another place.
Seen to unseen.
Seen to unseen. And that is the aim of this subject. Hopefully we could deal with this later. If you be kind enough and do a poem for us or a surah of Quran, that would be very nice.
Certainly. The pattern improves. When love itself comes to kiss you, don't hold back. When the king goes hunting, the forest smiles. Now the king has become the place, and all the players pray, bystander, bow, arrow, hand, and release. How does that feel? Last night's dream enters these open eyes. When we die and turn to dust, each particle will be the whole. You hear the moat whirl, taking form. My music, love, calm, patient. The friend has waded down into existence, gotten stuck, and will not be seen again. Outside of this, we sometimes make spider webs of smoke and saliva, fragile thought packets. Leave thinking to the one who gave intelligence. In silence, there is eloquence. Stop weaving and watch how the pattern improves. So tell me about, in terms of perception, how can one best refine perception? What are some of the practical elements or methods that one can attain the spiritual ascension quite quickly in terms of a personal development in Sufism?
Okay, what is known as existence, by that's a translation I can get for it, Hasti. Hasti means is. Everything is. He is, she is, that is. The world is. Everything is, right? Hasti. Is, right? Hasti. The whole existence, there is no lie or deception in it. It is a total truth. It's an absolute truth that nothing, no lie or deception can ever be put in it. If you do, it will explode. It's a whole reality that is outside us, of course. It's total reality based on truth. That's why we say there's only one truth, or there's only one God, one absolute.
So how does Hasti differ from al-Haq?
Haq. Well, Haq and Hasti, Haq, let's say we go with Arabic, and then Hasti say, Haq means the truth, right? Hasti means the whole existence, okay? So it is just, there is no deception in it. It's just so beautiful. It operates within a law. So everything that is, now, beside existence, beside Hasti, beside Haq, the only thing exists is an illusion. Okay? If you follow the word La ilaha illallah, nothing exists but God. Right? That is the Muslim philosophy or marifat. Nothing. That means everything that there is God. You will not find anything that is not God. Soul, tree, everything is an expression of God. It's a part of God. It's made. By expression, it doesn't mean that, for example, or manifestation is like a book, you take one page out. It doesn't mean, it means something expresses itself and it remains and hold that essence to it. It stays transcendent and at the same time immanent, but it becomes everything else too. Okay? So the existence works that way. Total truth is a beauty without any deception. Beside it exists what? Illusion. Illusion has no material base. So you can't say, when you hear say God is a jealous God, because he knows there is nothing but him, right? And then you start worshipping a piece of metal, give it a characteristic, and that piece of metal is actually him, is a part of him. But you start giving that metal a characteristic out of illusion. That's why he doesn't want you to go. So jealousy, does in English, is not the right word. They call it khairat. Accept him. And he says, well, there is nothing exists but me. Why are you creating something for it? Illusion. So the whole process is we create a reality for ourselves that is an illusion. Nothing to do with the whole existence of God. And that becomes a basis of idol worshipping.
Or
so,
an association.
Association, yeah. So we create reality for ourselves. But we understand reality is, as we said, is something infinite outside us. We can, it's very difficult to comprehend it. What we talked about today was about how you could become involved in that process and understand it, right? Rather than sitting down and hallucinate. So unfortunately, most people sit there and hallucinate. They become religious, they advocate war. They talk about peace, but the peace on their own term. So that's why every year you see the guys in suit and tie, they sit and talk about peace, and then you have more war that there is a universal peace, which nobody understands. You're talking about my kind of reconciliation, not yours.
Yes, it's the same as it's not enough to hate war, we have to love peace.
And this happens because that is the reality they created for themselves. Nothing to do with a reality that is out there, the whole absolute reality. Once you connect yourself to that reality, perception-wise, you understand that everything is made of the same thing and everything is related to each other. If you break this, you're going to hurt yourself. You may break this, but you hurt yourself too, because that is part of your existence.
Sure, it's like
when you're killing somebody, you're hurting yourself. You think you killed somebody, but you actually hurt yourself.
Sure.
When you make somebody happy, you're making yourself happy. The whole existence celebrates. I'm sorry.
The human condition, it's like a function of the duality of mind, where we create artificial separation between ourselves and others, between different conditions, classes, whatever. It can be any kind of division. And these are artificial constructs, correct?
Exactly. So in Sufism, everything is part of God and related to each other through life or existence. And you must respect for life, respect Sharia, or the law. The law means respect for others.
And it's a unified practice.
Unified practice. So therefore, what Sufism does through these practices, what we talked about, through understanding God and manifestation and expression, you will have regard for life. Perception changes. Your perception from self, individual, greed, changes to interest of the world, welfare, society, peace, reconciliation. Because service. And that's why we have all the prophets such as Jesus and Prophet Muhammad. They all come to give service. Because that's the highest name one can attain. Become servant of God. In service of God. Because how can you serve God?
It's like a humanitarian station. You want to go there, huh?
Exactly. So the question is, how can you serve God? You only serve God if you serve other people, if you feed the hungry, if you go to hospital, visit people, if you plant flower, and that's the only way you can service God, because otherwise you don't see Him. It's not just by standing in a corner and pray, and that's not, God doesn't listen to the word we say. He looks into our heart and see what comes from the heart.
It's not the ritual, but the action.
The actual. The ritual could be, it's very important if the heart, tongue, and mind become ones. Not verbally you say something, you say Allahu Akbar, you go kill people. Now, what did Allahu Akbar means? God is greater than your imagination. Your imagination is killing, right? So, but it's not. God's greater than your imagination. It's about peace and reconciliation. It's about Ar-Rahman, the most compassionate and most merciful. And those are not your standard. I'm not talking about you basically.
They're not our attributes.
Yeah, you don't apply your standard to God. The standard is in Him much higher. So the whole thing is to perception. Change those perceptions. How do you do it? By certain practices. By first understand that it is important that you respect and love everybody. By hurting them, you hurt yourself. That is the thing. Do not be selfish. Do not be individualistic. Do not be greedy. All those areas. And understand that the whole creation, the purpose is love. And come out of those illusions that you created for yourself. Don't fly so low and you see only little. Fly high and see the whole existence.
You know, Bahram, it's a bit tricky in the West because often we're reared for not interdependence, but independence, so that individualistic temperament becomes quite challenging.
Well, I mean, that's because there's two things here. One, we are all individual and unique. In the eye of God, we're all very, very unique, right? That's what the subject was. So in our term, our relationship to God is very, very unique. Our potential is very, very unique. The try is to actualize those potentials so we get close to God. That's why I cannot assist you and take you to God or intercede for you. Everybody is responsible to bring out the best and actualize all the flower within, right? And that's how you make it to God, right? So being an individual in the world today means you are an individual who is out there to make money. The motive is to make money and make profit and all that, yeah?
Competitive nature.
Now, that competitiveness, if it is with submission, that, okay, I'm going to go out, make money, take care of my family, but at the same time, I'm paying the tithing, I'm paying zakat, I'm paying what is due to the society in order to bring up the level of society. Somebody else's child is the same as my child. Although, you know, we're a little bit different, but by finding somebody like Einstein or somebody like some great scientist or something, you will serve the society. That may not be your child. It could be somebody else's child, right? So what does Sufi do is change your perceptions, yeah? Many people do. The reason they recruit you to come to to their religion, they sit there and they talk you into accepting the religion. That's, you change somebody's perception. That's how you do it. Sufis don't believe in recruiting or asking people to become a Sufi. They don't do that. They don't advertise. In fact, when you go there, they do not allow you in. In traditional Sufi houses, they tell you, well, you know, this is a responsibility. Why do you want to be here? So it's not a matter of recruiting and changing people to Sufism. Sufism believes it is all in you. As we talk about the seed of apple, all the knowledge and all those apple and the flower, everything within that exists within that, right?
However latent.
Everything, all the latent. Now, it says it is all in you. Do not become me. Do not follow me. Okay? Be yourself. That's what the Prophet Muhammad said. He said, look, before you, your fathers were creating these idols. They were worshipping a piece of wood. My uncle, great Prophet Abraham, came and broke all these idols. You're still doing it, right? Be different. Be new. Okay? Do not worship yourself, your own limitation. Because when you create something and you worship it, you're worshiping yourself. Haqq is much vaster than that. Worship God, that is infinite, that's absolute. You are a limited, a relative view. You must break away from the relative ideology into the absolute. This is a whole journey of Sufism. Do not worship whatever it is today you see. I think we're coming, indicating is the end of the show. If you'd like to do a poem for us, then that would be beautiful.
There is a passion in me that doesn't long for anything from another human. I was given something else, a cap to wear in both worlds. It fell off. No matter. One morning I went to a place beyond dawn, a source of sweetness that flows and is never less. I've been shown a beauty that would confuse both worlds, but I won't cause that uproar. I am nothing but a head set on the ground as a gift for Shams. The next program of Sufism, the Heart of Islam, will be a continuation of perpetual creation. Thank you.
Imagica Film Productions, Vancouver's newest and most exciting production company located in North Vancouver. Imagica offers a wide range of production and post-production needs, including studio space, green room, white room, lighting, cameras, sound engineering, and editing. Contact us at 604-689-4624 or visit us online at www.imagicaproductions.com.